Welcome friends, today we're making gourmet scallop shells. They're a great appetizer or a first course. You can even make a meal out of them, but you will need shells. And how I got these is by buying them already made at the supermarket. Then I washed them, put them away, and use them over and over again. You can also buy shells online for this purpose. Alright, now going over the ingredients real quick, we have a half a pound of shrimp, we have a half a pound of Bay Scallops, we have some celery and onion, that's flat leaf Italian parsley, a couple of cloves of garlic and butter, and you got to make sure you use the right type of, breading. You want to use these crackers, the ritzy ones, and also some crab meat and some seasoning. Oh, and don't forget, you're also going to need some either white wine or sherry. I use sherry, it's the best. Now, the best way to deal with this, you don't need a food processor, because these crackers are already very crumbly and very easy to break up, so you just do it with your hands. And that gives you a lot better control over the size of the pieces, right? You don't want it to be like breadcrumbs. You want it to be a little bit on the chunky side, even though they're going to get wet and get sort of mushy anyway, so maybe it doesn't matter. Now, as for the shrimp, these were deveined with tails on. Of course, we're going to take the tails off because we want to cut these up into little small bite-sized pieces, okay? So a shrimp that size you can cut up into like 4 pieces, maybe even 5 if you want to go crazy. Bear in mind that the shrimp doesn't shrink much, but the scallops do. And so by the time you cut these up into little pieces and those scallops cook and they shrink a little bit, they're going to be about the same size. Okay, yeah, I'll show you what I mean. See, they look a little big here compared to those pieces of shrimp, but they're going to shrink a bit. You'll see. So half a pound of each, folks. That's what you need. We're going to get on over to the stove and melt a half a stick of butter. That's 4 ounces. Is that 4? No, 4 tablespoons. 4 tablespoons of butter. And we're going to take those finely minced onion or shallot and celery. We're just going to saute those briefly until they're soft. You don't want to brown anything here. You just want to soften them up because they won't have time to cook inside of the shell. So make sure you cook them until they're nice and soft. And when you're done with that, just for the last 30 seconds or so, put in a little bit of garlic, stir that around. Because bear in mind what we're doing is we're not creating a filler, we're creating the flavoring, okay? So all that butter is going to just absorb or take on the flavors of the celery and the onions and the garlic, of course. And at this point, you can go ahead and put in your fish. Now, I just want to be clear that we're not trying to cook the shrimp and the scallops just yet. What we want to do is just warm them up. These were in the refrigerator, so they're cold. We want to warm them up and season them. So by doing it this way, we're going to allow some of the liquid to come out of those scallops. It's going to blend with the butter and the seasonings, all right? You just want to stir it around. You don't want to cook them. In fact, you can shut the heat off at this point if you want to. There's really no reason to keep it on. I'll show you why in a minute. But last but not least, we're going to put in some sherry. That's a dry sherry. I think that's the best thing to use. You could try dry vermouth, but sherry is the best. And just stir it around, and don't worry, the alcohol will cook out. And if you don't want to use sherry or any kind of alcohol, you could do this with chicken broth or vegetable broth. But I really think you should use the sherry, okay? And that's it. Take it off the heat and immediately put that into the crumb mixture, which is really just crumbled up crackers, and give it a quick mix. Okay, and I think you're going to find out that with 2 sleeves of those crackers, there's just enough liquid to moisten them. And we don't want this to be mushy. Bear in mind, because the way we're going to use this, we want it to hold its shape like a meatball, sort of. And we'll go ahead and add some of that chopped up parsley. You could use more than that. And yeah, we're going to put it in that crab meat. And this is the only crab meat they had available at the market. It's just there for flavor. It's actually optional, but I do suggest that you put it in if you're going to try this recipe at least once. Put it in. It makes a little bit of a difference. And if you do happen to use more breadcrumb or anything like that, reserve some of the liquid from that crab meat. And now we're going to go ahead and put them together. And the best way to do that is with one of these ice cream scoops. Okay, it's just the right size. And you sort of pack it in there with your fingers, okay? Don't be shy. Go ahead and pack it in. And then release it, just like you would regular ice cream, right? So now you have like an ice cream cone serving of that delicious stuffing. Oh yeah. And bear in mind, this is the same stuffing that you would use in a baked stuffed lobster. Keep that in mind. That might come in handy. There may be a baked stuffed lobster in your future. What do you think of that? All right, so this recipe will make 12, but I'm only doing 8 here because I froze 4 of them before cooking, okay? And what I'm doing now is just taking some melted butter and some lemon juice. I'm just gonna swirl it around and then top off each one with a few drops. Just distribute it evenly among all of them so they all get that extra richness from the butter and that slight tanginess from the lemon. It's just a really good combination. And then we're going to finish with some more of that seasoning. And that's that Chef Prudhomme's red fish magic, although you could use Bay seasoning. They're similar. And then bake them. And I wouldn't bake them more than 10 minutes. Keep an eye at about 8 minutes because you don't want to overcook the fish. Let them settle for a little bit before digging in. I couldn't wait to do it though. And like as soon as I see that stop bubbling, I am going to dig in and try one of these. And lo and behold, look at how beautiful they are. Nice big chunks of scallop and shrimp, lightly seasoned, and with just enough of that stuffing mixture to make it stick together. So this isn't about stuffing with fish. This is about fish with a little bit of stuffing. So I do hope you try this. And I also hope that you come back each week for more great videos made for people who like to cook. Until then, bon appetit.